Hey guys, welcome back to my playthrough of Hogwarts, like I say. In the last episode, we beat the game. So that was fun. Oh, they're playing chess. Visible. Awesome. So we did all that good and gravy stuff. It was a lot of fun. We defeated the Ranrock Dragon. We saved the day. And everything is just great and dandy. And we're back here now. The seasons have changed. And it's time for our OWLs. It's really been exciting. I'm going to give my final thoughts when the credits roll, if and when they do. And of course, if you do enjoy this video, please do consider hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. It goes a long way and I really appreciate it. So let's get into it. Let's speak with Professor Weasley. See how this goes.
Professor Weasley, you wanted to see me?
I did. We haven't had a chance to speak since I know you were quite close with Professor Fig.
Hogwarts won't be the same without him.
No, it won't. But I can assure you that he would want us to press on, and that he would rest easy knowing that the future of the wizarding world is in hands like yours.
Thank you, Professor.
You've had quite a year, both inside and outside of Hogwarts. I've heard all sorts of rumors. You've ridden a graphorn, befriended a goblin, rescued hippogriffs, even took it upon yourself to help Professor Black's house elf.
How did you...
It's harder to keep secrets around here than one might suspect. I'm just glad you found such a good friend in Miss Sweeting. It's nice to see her engaging more with her classmates. There have evidently been Snidget sightings in the area lately. If the centaurs are to be believed, 2 Hogwarts students are behind it.
I'm certain I don't know what...
No need to discuss it further. What I would like to discuss is your wizard's field guide. May I see it?
Of course.
I could have just handed it to you.
What do you think, Professor?
I think you've been busy this year. It seems you've completed much of your field guide. Well done. But you've still a little left to do. Fortunately, you do have some time to prepare for your OWLs. I will confess, I had a sense about you from that first moment you came bursting in, late, to the sorting ceremony. I am pleased to see that my instincts were correct. To think you've only been with us a year and you'll already be taking your OWLs, well, it's nothing short of astonishing.
Thank you, Professor, for everything.
You are most welcome. I look forward to seeing what you do during the rest of your time with us.
Hmm? Weasley's Watchful Eye. New quest available. So, is that kind of like the last warning of when she says you have more to do, like, hey, you know, there's still stuff left to do, and you're kind of coming up toward the end here. Let me see what this new quest is available. The House Cup. I should attend the end of the year feast in the Great Hall. Go to the Great Hall. Well, this is it, guys. So, like I said in the last episode, prepare for your OWLs. Complete your wizard's field guide. I don't have to actually do it. I mean, the field guide, let's see. It would be, no, this. I mean, there's still a decent chunk. There's, shockingly, it says 64% of exploration has been done. I've explored a butt ton. Pretty much everything around this side of the map. There's a few other places, like there's these Foo Flames and kind of this, you know, area right up here. I think this castle that I haven't gone to. All of this in the middle I have thoroughly checked out. Everything in and around this area over here. Of course, this area down here I have not done much exploring, to be honest. There's You know, I went down here, I got the graph horn, but as you can see, there's still areas of the map over here that I haven't gone over, and I could do some exploring and gather some stuff and all kinds of good gravy stuff. I don't think I'm going to, though. I mean, I could probably easily put in, I don't know, with all this down here, going inside of every cave, fighting every enemy, doing all the puzzles and Merlin trials, I could probably put in another 10 hours into this game. Or at least maybe 5 or 6. But I'd say maybe 10. And just kind of clearing off every little detail. But I'm not interested in doing a 100% playthrough. I feel like I've really gotten out of the game what I wanted. It was a hell of a lot of fun. And I kind of want to put a pin in this now. And I think this episode might be the one to do it. So let's go into the house, to the Great Hall, and do the House Cup. Oh yeah, because at the end of it all, isn't it right that one of the houses win, right? One of the like Slytherin or Gryffindor, you know, one of those houses. Surely we'll win, because come on, I'm a part of Slytherin. We're like the best. I mean, come on.
It warms my heart to see your interest in pathology.
Okay. This way it looks like. Ooh, alright. This is so exciting. This is so exciting. The House Cup. This is gonna be the end. Oh man, what a game. What a freaking game. I'm assuming this is the end. I don't know. Maybe Ranrock will show back up in dragon form. Start killing everyone. That would be interesting. Uh-huh. Interestingly enough, we never did get the chance to romance anyone. I was thinking me and Poppy were going somewhere, but I guess it was just more friendship level. Let's see. I feel like my attire is fitting as well. Like, this is something the student would wear. You know, I'm blending in, and I could wear something extremely dorky and stupid, but, I've been doing a lot of that throughout the whole game. I've tried, that was weird. I've tried several different pieces of equipment. Pretty much all of them, I feel. More or less, I've given them a shot. Or at least most of them. Go. Who was that guy supposed to be? Was that her dad?
This year, we have seen our students exemplify the bravery of Godric Gryffindor. Allow me to finish. The loyalty of Helga Hufflepuff. The wisdom of Rowena Ravenclaw. And the ambition of Salazar Slytherin. And so, the winner of this year's House Cup.
Excuse me, Headmaster, if I may. One particular student's heroism during the attack on Hogwarts, not to mention the level to which they have excelled in their coursework, as a new student, no less. Well, it would seem that it certainly merits, I'd say, 100 points to their house. Wouldn't you agree?
Ah, yes. Thank you, Professor Weasley. I suppose we have our winner.
And there it is. Where was Sebastian there at the end? He's in our house. He's a Slytherin, isn't he? Well, there's the end credits. Oh man, and what a beautiful freaking backdrop. I mean, that school and the surrounding countryside. What a freaking awesome. So, oh no, don't get rid of... Oh, okay, it's gonna zoom through different ones. Well, that's a nice touch. I dig it. Let me tell you my thoughts of the game. What are my thoughts? Well, I thought it was an awesome game. I really did. I think I'm gonna make a video on my other channel called Wayward Culture and make an official game review, but just to put in my 2 cents right now, the game was great. I mean, as an open world RPG kind of style game, there were just so many different there were just so many different things that you could explore. There was an incredible landscape. I feel like the story was fine. I mean, it wasn't like super duper compelling, like say in The Witcher 3 or something. It didn't have characters or events happen compared to like a game like that, where there was incredible depth to each one and you had really standout characters. Not so much, but it wasn't bad either. You know, there weren't any really standout characters with super unique personalities that were, you know, once they were on screen, you just couldn't take your eyes off of them. But there were somewhat interesting characters. Like, I would say Professor Fig was kind of cool. I think, honestly, Professor Black, the headmaster, was one of the most uniquest characters. But we really didn't get that much with him. That's why that whole sequence with taking a... oh, what's a potion called? I forget. Potter juice potion or something like that? That was interesting. I think had a lot of fun with it. I think the combat was very strong. But I did feel overpowered. I did feel like I was really looking forward to every combat scenario, and at the end of every combat defeat of the enemies, I kept wanting a bit more. I feel like maybe the trials, not the trials, they have these things that you could open up. Excuse me, sorry. That were like arena kind of things, these competitive arena things. I only did them once. And so I guess that kind of scratches that itch, but I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of that in game. Like, instead of facing 10 enemies, how about like 20 or 30 or something like that? But the combat was still very fun, nonetheless. It was very fun and engaging. Crap, I just dropped my remote control. I'm gonna turn this down just a little bit more. There we go. But, you know, and there was a lot of variety during combat. Like, you had a decent number of spells that did different things. You, of course, had the glowing shields that you had to use the diversity of different spells. You had the mechanics, which were the plants. That was an interesting touch, like the chopping cabbages. And then you had the different potions. Like I said, other than maybe a few big battles, I really didn't need to depend on any of that stuff that much. My regular spells were somewhat fine. So I think a huge highlight of this game is the combat. I feel like the story was fine. It wasn't anything mind-blowing, to be honest, but it was fine, and it did the job, and it moved the plot along, and I think it had a pretty decent conclusion overall. There wasn't anything around the story that I was like, oh, that was really retarded that they did that. There were a few things with the side quests that I thought, like, say, for Natty's side quest, was just, like, there were things that made me laugh that I thought were just kind of silly. The whole, her dad can turn into a giraffe thing and how she saved us at the end. It was a little cheesy and just kind of made me chuckle. And then it made me laugh when the professor showed up underground. I don't know why I thought that was so funny, but it was. But everything else was fun. I thought the villains were in. Again, not super deep with any heroes or villains, but it did the job. So I give it a plus on that part too. Story, combat, all pluses. I wish I had a beefier machine. The graphics probably would have looked even better. I had a bit of trouble with the performance, I think, going into it. And my specs checked out, but I think I need an even beefier machine. So it's kind of one of those things where I had to run a lot of the graphic settings a bit low. And even there at the end in some of those cutscenes, you probably noticed some of the graphics kind of dipping in and out, which is a shame. And definitely when I first started the game and I first went into the Great Hall, it dipped quite a bit. But I tinkered with it, and for the most part, I was still able to play the game, and everything, more or less, 95% of the time looked fine. So I'd probably put that one on just my own end. I need a bit beefier machine overall, but I did struggle a little bit with that. Let's see, the gameplay was fine. I thought there was a lot of little things added into the actual content of the game that you didn't really need or was necessary, but it was a nice touch. And some of it served practical use, like the vivariums. I thought turning the Room of Requirement into a player home was a very neat idea. And the vivariums, they just kept popping up. I was surprised. We got 4, and we got to house each and every one of the different creatures, and we can use their ingredients to buff our equipment. So there's utility there. I thought that was cool. And there's a bunch of little things, like you can just decorate them, in different ways, which adds nothing to the game, but it's nice, it's fun and it's neat. And I gotta say, I did like being in each one. Each one was different, and it was kind of this home away from home, kind of this sanctuary. I thought all the crafting stuff was cool. Crafting the tables, using those for crafting potions and ingredients. I thought all that was a neat mechanic, and using the Room of Requirement for all that kind of stuff. And so I did enjoy all of that too. And I think probably the thing I loved just the most about this game, I don't know, just the Harry Potter feel. It really did feel like it was in the Harry Potter universe. The music was great. Even like the Christmas Harry Potter music was in there. Whenever you found one of those pages, it was like, dun 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 dun, that all in there, and like variations of that, and I love that so much. I loved exploring the world. I loved the spells. I loved the whole Harry Potter vibe, the magic vibe, and you can do so much with all of that stuff, and it was great. So I loved every bit of that, and immersing myself in this world has been an incredible amount of fun. It really, really has. The side quests, like the relationship quests, were good. Like I said, Natty's kind of ended in a dumb way, but I liked Poppy and I liked Sebastian. Poppy's kind of an animal lover. I thought the ending was fine, and I thought the touch with the centaurs and the cutscenes with them were interesting, and I did enjoy them. I thought Sebastian's was probably the most interesting and had the most depth. Kind of sucks the way it did end for him, but we learned the curses through him. And they were pretty overpowered, to be honest with you. They made things even easier. And so I thought it was fine. I thought those side quests were okay. So, what did I not like about the game? Well, I've mentioned this in previous videos. This isn't a huge gripe, but it was kind of stupid overall, the whole diversity element. I know there's probably going to be some soft, snowflake, sensitive, person that's like fighting for people's rights and everything that's like, oh my gosh, you're a racist or some bullshit like that. But it is what it is, but it's the truth. It's like the whole diversity element was just kind of stupid. I mean, this took place 100 years before the events in the movies, and the location where they're at in Britain or wherever the hell there's almost everyone, just like in the movies, would be white. They would be English. And it kind of took me out of the story, out of the game after a while, because it's like every student and then every new professor that kept popping up as you were attending classes. You got one from the Middle East, you got one from Iraq, you got one from China, you got one from Ukraine, you got an Asian person, an Indian person, a black person, one from Africa. It's just like, god damn, is this Hogwarts? Like, if you place this, honestly, even 100 years after the events of the films and the books and the world of Harry Potter, it probably would have made a lot more sense, but it was just jarring, and it served no purpose for the story at all. I mean, really none. Natty came from, Uganda or something like that, Wagadu, and so that kind of tied into her past. So I guess you can kind of give it a pass for her. But to have every nationality under the sun in this game, you could tell it was pandering. You could really tell that it was just pandering so that people could see themselves, which is just some retarded bullshit talking line that just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And I'm looking at these credits. What is all this Brazilian? This. Did they hire people from different nationalities on purpose? Is that what I'm seeing? I don't know. But anyways, the whole diversity element was, it was just kind of stupid. Like, it didn't add much. However, I mentioned this in one of the episodes. I was shocked that as far as the whole woke brigade goes, that was the only thing that felt forced. I mean, sure, you had a lot of diversity, but there was no, long sermons about how slavery is bad and white guilt. There wasn't any type of, constant preaching for every single person about where they come from and how they've had it more difficult because their skin color or because of this and that. I mean, there was no really any preaching messages on, and even Natty's story where she came from Africa, it never felt heavy-handed or like it was directed at America or the evils of America, or anything like that. It just, there wasn't any of that stuff. Like, the students, in spite of everyone being diverse, they just, all acted normal. They all were focused on their studies or all on their little projects or whatever it was they're doing. And there never came across where I felt like I was being lectured on social justice. And there were no messages about, I mean, maybe if you look into it or read into it a lot, but there were no messages about, like, climate change and how climate's going to destroy the world and the Republicans are evil. There was no messages about, like, the gay push or transgenderism and making children, transitioning them. There was that one tavern owner that was a trans woman, but she was barely in the game. She had one little part, and I think there was a side story where you basically went through a cave and collected some letters. It felt a little shoved in there, like it really didn't add anything whatsoever. And after her part was done, she played no significant role at all. But that's kind of why I have trouble taking issue with it. I mean, it's like, yeah, it's in there and it feels like it's a little pandery, but it's not really shoved in your face too much. And, it'd be another thing if she, like, did the whole pronoun game and told our character, like, these are my pronouns, you need to address me. Then it would feel very preachy and it would just kind of turn into bullshit. But the fact that you had her just, transgender chick in there, I don't know. It was a little off, but it didn't take me out too much. But man, that was it. Like, I was expecting going down the hall of Hogwarts, and there's like pride flags everywhere and transgender flags everywhere, and I was expecting every single professor to be gay and having gay butt sex on the side, and just like everything you can think of, and pronouns being injected into all that shit, and we got all the diversity elements and all that. I wouldn't have been surprised if they made some stupid reference to Trump about Orange Man bad or something. But there wasn't any of that. I didn't see it. I really didn't. I saw the diversity element and a little bit of the trans thing with the barkeep sprinkled in, but there was never a preachy element. It never came across like it was heavy-handed, and most importantly, it never took away from the game. Like I said, the only small thing is the diversity element took me out of it a little bit because it was just a bit jarring. But for the most part, the combat, the characters, the motivations, the storyline, it was all pretty solid. And normally when you have woke things interjected into any form of entertainment, it takes away from the quality of it because it's about the agenda. And you can see some kind of resemblance of a little bit of that, but man, I don't feel like it really took away from the game. I was actually really impressed by it. And just how everything unfolded, how the gameplay was, how all of it was. And I really enjoyed the game a lot. Like, I loved the game. I loved being immersed in this world. I loved fighting the enemies. I was interested in, even though the characters had simple and basic surface level motivations, I was still engaged, you know? So there was a few woke elements, but they also felt surface level, and it didn't take away from the experience for me. So, you know, there's that. There were a few other things I didn't like about the game, though, that did irritate me even more than any of that. For one, the repetitiveness of some of the loot. I mean, hey, the Merlin trials, we had several different Merlin trials, which were great. You know, I mean, there were, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 different kinds of Merlin trials, which is fun, and they were all interesting. But my God, scattered throughout the whole world, there had to have been, what, 40 or 50 of those damn things? So you end up doing each trial like 2 or 3 times. And after putting in 60, 70 hours like I have, it gets a bit repetitive. And so the puzzles in the game, and I mentioned the loot, but the puzzles as well, the puzzles were fun, but they felt repetitive. There was only one puzzle that stumped me and was irritating the hell out of me, and that was in one of those giant cube rooms, and I just wasn't feeling it. And it was like, compared to all the other puzzles, it was, you know, like, oh my God, why is this one so much more harder than all the rest? But I don't know. Yeah, the Merlin trials and the puzzles, and some of that just felt repetitive, but the loot especially, it got to the point, I would say maybe around 50 hours, to where I just lost a lot of motivation to want to go out of my way and collect stuff. Whether it was in a locked chest, or on an island somewhere, or I had to climb up somewhere and get something, because I knew for certain it was always going to be a piece of item, like a clothing item, that wasn't going to be as good as something I was wearing. It was always going to be that, always. And it just got kind of repetitive. And I think I probably could have, at the end, grabbed some extraordinary gear and leveled up each one of those levels and ended up having better quality gear than what I was wearing. But I just really wasn't interested in that. And I wanted to explore for the sake of exploring and loot and all that stuff, because I was selling stuff off. And you can sell the clothing items for coin, but man, after you really get all the, like, the enchanting tables and the stuff that you get for the Room of Requirement, there's really no point to having any gold. I mean, what do you spend your gold on? A broom? I'd spent it on one broom, which was just fine. But you really didn't need to buy anything else. You didn't need to buy decorations for the Room of Requirement. You didn't need to buy new wands or spend money on spells. It kind of felt like the money in this game only had a few useful things for it, you know? But that was it. I think it would be interesting if, say, they added a food system in, because you could go inside of every shop and just pick up a cupcake or whatever the hell it was and stuff your face, or someone else's coffee. So I thought that was funny. I didn't have an issue with that, but if they actually had a crafting, maybe not a crafting system, but shops with food, and say the food added certain buffs to your character, and you could spend your money on those different food items, and maybe you could have the option to take food and eat food before battle starts so that you're buffed a little bit. I don't know. But at the end, I just didn't find anything to spend my money on. And, it's like, what do I do with all this crap? Which means that there's even less incentive to get these worthless pieces of clothing. And they were all, lower level, and they were all the same, just reprints of different stuff. I thought it would be interesting to do something like Elden Ring did. So every piece of equipment item has a small description that informs you more about the lore of the world and the lore of Harry Potter. Not specifically like, oh, these set of gloves belong to this wizard or something. Not like that. Just, just kind of like a tidbit, like of the lore. Something like, did you know that what is the thing called that you have to collect in Quidditch? It's like it's based off of the Snidgets, but it's not called a Snidget. It's based off the Snidgets. It's called the Snitch. That's it. The Golden Snitch. I think it's called that. But like let's say you pick up a set of gloves in some backwater cave, but in the description box it says something like, did you know that the Golden Snitch is actually designed and based off of the real-life creature called a Snidget, which is thought to be extinct, or something like that. Just little tidbits to... Oh, crap. I'm talking too much. Hang on a second. Let me drink. Oh, God. Anyways. Sorry about that. But yeah, something like that. So that it helps you learn even more about the world of Harry Potter and the wizarding world, and it kind of makes discovering new pieces of equipment, even though they're crap and useless, fun, because you learn more about this wonderful world. I thought that would have been a nice little touch, but either way, after a while, I just really kind of lost my motivation to explore. There were a few other things when it came to exploration, like the ancient magic, but man, was that overpowered. Like, by the end, I had 4 slots of ancient magic, and all of my gear, I had those talismans or whatever latched onto my gear to increase the refill of my ancient magic meter. So I was going against everything, just unloading that stuff, and it's like almost instant death with anything. And so nothing felt super challenging, not even the trolls, man. Just a few of the boss battles, I could say. It was still fun, though, that's the thing. Like I said, the combat was so freaking fun that even though it wasn't super challenging, all the different mechanics and ways that you could go about it, it was engaging, So the repetitiveness of some of the puzzles and the loot was a gripe. There were a few things when it comes to puzzles where I hate that when games do this, but they give you hints. They kind of backseat. I hate it so much. They did it in God of War Ragnarok a lot. And even... Oh, I can skip this. I'm not going to, not yet. But even in God of War 2018. And you see it done a lot in games. I think that's because a lot of it's so dumbed down and people think that we're stupid. And so they have to give you a hint after 5 seconds. This is why I love Elden Ring so much. Because it did not treat its customers as idiots. I mean, holy hell. You wanted answers, you really had to go find it. But there wasn't a lot of that because there weren't a lot of times where there was companions. Every now and then you would travel with someone else and they wouldn't shut up. But it was mostly just you. And, every now and then your character would say something, but it wasn't too much. It was a little annoying when it popped up, but it wasn't too bad. So those are some of the things I didn't like too much about it. Excuse me. The needless diversity element was stupid and kind of pandering. Some of the graphics things I had issues with on my own end. The repetitiveness of some of the puzzles and the loot and a little bit of hand-holding when it came to the puzzles and the problem solving. But I mean, is there anything else I didn't like about the game? Oh, and also how I mentioned how I wish it was a bit more challenging. There was that. I wish there was a little bit more challenge overall. And I was playing on hard, by the way. I wasn't playing on easy. It was the hardest difficulty I could find. But man, I don't know. I feel like there was those things. That's a good handful right there. Of course, the lack of use for coin and gold at the end to be able to spin that. So there's a lot of little bitty things about the game that are a little irritating that I thought could have been done a lot better. But I can't stress it enough. I really did still enjoy the game. I thought overall it was great. Like I said, an entire world of the Wizarding World to explore. There was very positive forms of diversity, like in the combat, like I mentioned before, all the different things you could do. I thought the animals were a nice touch, and the different forms of creatures you could collect. The enemies got a little repetitive. I mean, the only things we only fought against were, say, the Ashwinders and the Goblins. There were some other enemies, like there were wolves, which never posed a threat. It would have been nice to see larger wolf packs. The spiders were interesting, though. I think they were done well, and sometimes they even killed me. Like, there was a few times where those big-ass spiders really were tough. There were dragons in the game. I would have preferred to have had opportunity to actually fight a dragon, but we did encounter them a few times, and so I thought for sure that dragon that Ranrock had controlled that originally attacked our carriage, I thought eventually we would end up fighting that thing, but we didn't. But that's okay, because Ranrock turned into a dragon, so that was kind of cool. Oddly enough, his battle was not as fun. It was fun, but not as fun as, say, the battle we had with, like, those giant sentinel things in the first two trials. But it was still fun. Speaking of the trials, the first two were fine. They were fun. They were interesting. And they had, you fought one of those giant sentinel things at the end of each one. And the fourth one was the face-off against Ranrock, which was cool and fairly epic. I thought it was done well, more or less. Aside from that hilarious part when the professor showed up. I tell you, I just don't know why I thought that was so funny, but it was. But I think my favorite trial of all was the third trial. Oh, and we've come to the end of credits. Oh, God. Oh, we're back here in our room. Okay. But to finish what I was saying, so we can continue to play the game. That's always good. Par for the course in these kind of games now, of course. But, yeah, I think the third trial was my favorite. It was so unique and so different whenever we went into that fantasy kind of black and white world. And man, I loved that so much. That was so cool. That was so well done. That was clearly a highlight of this game. It was different. It really took you out of the game in a good way, and it was so different. It was done well, and I really enjoyed the third trial, probably more than anything. But yeah, I mean, man, what else can I say? So, you had all that. The trials were fun. The combat was great. Exploring the world, a vast world that was very well done. Not to mention, I thought the puzzles in the castle were well done. There were some that were repetitive, and some didn't really give. Again, the rewards could have been better on some of them. Like after doing those Daedalian keys, and the only thing I got out of it was some experience and a jacket. Like, come on, there's like 20-something of those damn things around here. I think I would have preferred a little bit more when it came to the weight of my choices. And I think I've gotten my answer on one of those as well. If you noticed at the end, it was either last episode or the episode before, I told the professor, can I go up here now, or is it still off limits? Oh, God. That is. But if you noticed at the end, I mean, I told Professor Fig, like, I want to use that magic that what's-her-name was using, and I want to take it for myself. I want to be evil. But it doesn't look like that choice had any consequence, and that's the thing about this game. Your choices don't matter. It's fairly linear. Like I said, the overall plot, when it came to this stuff, it was surface level, and it was fine, but your choices don't matter in this game. The only thing is, when it came to being evil, I just came across more like a dick sometimes to the students because they wanted to ask for my help. And when they did ask for my help, at the end of the day, I was like, you know what? What you needed me to find or get, I'm just going to keep it for myself and be a dick. But that was it. Like, that was the only time I had a choice in the decisions of quests. And it really didn't change anything except piss a few students off, which didn't matter either. I mean, those upset students that I ended up pissing off throughout the game, it never came back to haunt me. Like, it never really mattered. And then the choice at the end of the game, in order to keep the magic and use it for myself, when I told Professor Fig that, yeah, doesn't look like that mattered. I mean, I can't use it. It means nothing. It, I don't know, maybe changed my facial expression at the end. Maybe that changed, you know, to where I looked evil. But it had no actual impact on gameplay. And it doesn't look like it's done anything. I have all the same spells. I mean, I'm not seeing anything different that decision did. You know, these I've all had. So, yeah, it's like, well, I guess that's that. I mean, you know what? Yeah, so I would have enjoyed a little bit more consequences, you know. I think that means there's probably only one ending to the game. You know, there's no multiple endings. Maybe there is, and I didn't know how to unlock it. Maybe what I did was one of the endings, but they could have gone another route. I don't know. Maybe if I hadn't chosen to keep the magic for myself, maybe Professor Fig would have never died. Maybe that would have been an actual thing. I don't know. Let me wait for a second and make it daytime. It looks so much better during the day. And wait. But I would have enjoyed that. But it doesn't look like your choices matter at all. Okay, it's still nighttime. Great. Let's just begin then. Come on. Wait. Yes. What the hell? Is it ever going to be daytime? Alright, let's try it again. It's not an eternal night. What the hell? Okay, I don't know what's going on there. Maybe it's really early morning or something? I mean, I'm seeing some students out. I was trying to make it freaking daytime. Can I tell the time of day on the map? I've never figured that out. See where you could see that. Maybe on the... No, I mean, I was just on the map. World map? I don't know. Fine, whatever. But let me just finish my closing thoughts. Closing thoughts. So, I would have liked or preferred that a little bit better. Hey, this gate is closed. Can I not leave? There's something else I need to do. Can I not go out into the world anymore and explore? Surely I can. This is going to open, right? Yeah, okay. I was like, wait a second. I mean, surely they'd let me to continue to explore and stuff. Yeah. So I would have preferred a little bit more consequences to the choices I made. What else? I don't know, man. I feel like that's it. Overall, a solid, fun game. I put in over 70 hours in it, which is a pretty good chunk of time, for sure, you know? And I feel like I explored mostly everything that I needed to explore. We'll give one final ride to...
Time for a jaunt, I'd say.
Big Beefy. And I feel like I did everything I could do. You know, the only thing that I didn't do was stuff like explore random caves and just get downgraded pieces of equipment or Open up a few extra ancient magic stuff, that kind of stinks. But overall, it was fine. I think that if I had to rate the game, I don't know, on like a scale from 1 to
These rocks
100,
have seen better days.
I think
No need
it's
to race now, my friend.
probably like a solid 80 or a solid 75 or something. I don't know. It wasn't a masterpiece. I mean, it wasn't anything that...
Slow down now.
Let's get you back in here. It wasn't anything that just was like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever. It doesn't compare to, say, The Witcher 3. I thought the story and God of War, both games, were loads better. So there's a lot of games that outclass it. Even for exploration and stuff, Elden Ring, easy. But hey, it was a fun game. I really enjoyed it. I think I'm going to probably call this video there. And this will be the last video in my Hogwarts Legacy playthrough. I could go through and explore the other parts of the map down there that I ended up kind of skipping over. But all the major side quests are done. And the main story's done. And I've done mostly like 90% of the game. But I would recommend it. It was great. I had a lot of fun. Not the best thing in the entire world. Had a few little flaws here and there. But man, oh man, was it a blast. Man, I loved getting immersed in the wizarding world, man. The Harry Potter world. It makes me want to go back and watch the movies. Not the Fantastic Beasts movies. Those were shit. But, you know, the actual Harry Potter movies. And if they come out with, like, a second Hogwarts Legacy game or something, or DLC, I definitely will play it. Because I was very impressed with this game. Very impressed with what they did with the school. And how they just tied so many cool things that we knew and saw from the movies into this game. If they made a second game, I mean, they could base it in the future, so the bullshit diversity element would work. We could go to Diagon Alley. We could go to, I don't know. We could maybe go to Azkaban for a mission or something like that. You know, there are several of those notable places and locations outside of the school. We could go to another type of wizarding school and that kind of stuff. So there's all kinds of cool things that you could do there. But who knows? We'll see. I always appreciate you watching so much. If you enjoyed this video and if you enjoyed this series overall too, please do hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. My next playthrough, I'm going to play Lords of the Fallen. At least I think I am. When I get finished with this, I'm about to download it and check it out. It looks like Elden Ring, man. Like just pure dark fantasy, kind of Dark Souls type game, even though I don't think it's made from the same people. But we're going to check it out. I was going to end the game checking the school out during the day, but I can't turn the goddamn daytime. So we're just going to look at it at night, which I think is fine. I think it's fitting. It's nighttime. You can see the glow in the windows. It's a, it's a fitting end. I think we might get an even better view from up top. And just look at everything you could explore. And Hogsmeade, by the way, I do need to say, the town of Hogsmeade over there was a very nice touch. There was a lot of cool stuff that you could do and check out inside of Hogsmeade. So I really did like that. I thought all that was great. And there she is. Man, what an awesome place. What an awesome game. I've loved it. I really have loved it. In spite of a few gripes, I've loved every bit of it. I hope you have too. And this is goodbye. So, as always, guys, thanks so much for watching. And have a great freaking day.